Sunderland face Chelsea this weekend in the Premier League in what is going to be quite an interesting game. Of course, for Sunderland, the argument is it a free hit? There probably is no such thing as a free hit in football, though you probably will find me saying that, so I'm just a hypocrite. But yeah, it's a game that Sunderland, I think, have earned the right to go to and, try and be too disappointed if they end up, not winning the game or not getting a point from it. I think Chelsea, of course, are one of the, probably the fourth best team in the Premier League. I think I had them fourth in my 1 to 20 predictions. So, look, we go here with limited expectations of picking up a win. And if you watch mine and All Endings video preview, some of that is out of date now because of some of the news we're going to talk about. But yeah, we kind of go through the team selection. But in this video, I'm going to go through other bits of news and notes from the manager's press conference, what we can expect from Chelsea. I'll sort of give my team prediction and a prediction for the game. So that is what's coming up in this. But the main news today is that Alderete is injured. He has a concussion, or he's in concussion protocol. So that means we don't have him in this team. So that's obviously a big blow. Alderete has been fantastic, really, since he signed for Sunderland. I don't think you'll be a bigger fan of him than me. I think there's lots of people who are probably as big a fan as I am. But yeah, I think Alderete it's a big blow, losing him, just for even if it's this game. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I suspect it'll be quite a short-term thing. But yeah, disappointing to lose him, but we do have options to cover him. We'll go through that in the sort of starting 11 of what I'm predicting, but obviously we can play Ballard, we've got Mukiele, we've got Xhaka, we've got Luke on 9. Am I missing anyone else? Reinildo can play at centre-back. So, we've got plenty of options to fill in at centre-back, so it's not a huge blow per se, certainly if it's only just one game. But yeah, it does put a little bit of a spanner in the works, because Alderete would have started this game, but Ballard and Mukiele, that's a fantastic centre-back pairing, so it's hardly, it's not like we're being left massively short there when we had to play Jensen Seal at centre-back earlier in the season. So other thing of note, Reinildo is now back from his suspension, and I was sort of advocating him not coming straight back into the team when I thought Alderete was fit, but now Alderete is fit, probably forces the manager's hand to play a back four, which means moving Mukiele from right back to centre back, putting Trey Hume at right back, and then Reinildo would come in at left back. That feels to me like the most logical thing. And I suppose the other thing, which is worth noting, is that Xhaka Sadiki is clearly fit. The manager didn't say that there was an injury concern there. Obviously, he had that ankle sprain, and then he played last weekend, came off injured. I don't know if he came off injured, came off anyway towards the end of the game. It looked like an injury, but it seems like he's going to be fully fit, which is pretty big for us. I thought you might have, rested him for the Everton game, which is obviously coming a week on Monday, but clearly Sadiki is fit and raring to go. So what can we expect from Chelsea? And look, I know people do not love underlying data, and I accept that, but I'm not going to talk about it massively, but I still think underlying data and data generally can tell us what to expect from Chelsea. They're third in the possession table, so they're at 58%. It's very passive possession, though. They've got, pretty much most of it is in the middle and defensive third, so they don't actually rank that high for possession in the final third. So that suggests to me a very slow build-up, a team that is, probing from deep, waiting to, maybe break the lines and get in behind. But they aren't dominating in the sense of maybe a team like Man City, who have lots of the ball, or Liverpool, who have lots of the ball in the opposition's defensive area. They are much more, sort of playing into that middle third of the pitch rather than, penetrating through the final third all the time. They like to dribble the ball a lot. They are, very good for dribbling, very good for ball carrying. They scored 16 goals this season from 12.9 XG. They have 5.4 more XG than us, but they also give up a lot of chances. They've got a 12.3 XG against, conceding 9 goals, and we've conceded 6 goals from 9.7 XG, which can indicate to you that we will get chances on the break. Chelsea, because they are so dominant on the ball, are going to be vulnerable to us counter-attacking against them, and that's sort of what I've seen when I've watched the games anyway. We watched Brighton earlier in the season go to Stamford Bridge. They were 1-0 down, but they were able to hurt Chelsea on the break, and then they were able to get a player sent off because they got in behind of them. We have to do similar. Our game plan has to be to utilise pace and getting behind them, and Chelsea aren't slow, but they will play a high line. So players like Wilson Isidore and Eliza Mayenda and whoever else, Talby, if he plays, those quick players should have a chance to get in behind. It's obviously easier said than done, but I think that will be where we can hurt Chelsea, and that has been where they have been hurt all season. Chelsea, they'll create tons of chances. They've got 23 big ones this season, which ranks them 4th in the table. They also played Ajax last night and won 5-1, and because of that result, they were able to rest a lot of players, which means that they probably come into this game more fresh. If they had played, say a Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and they were coming up against just having played, a really tough 90 minutes at home where they were battling, or even away, they're battling all game, then we would have had them maybe a little bit weaker. But the fact they were able to take off most of their big hitters towards, with half an hour left of the game, probably means that they're going to come into this one fresher than you would expect from a Champions League game. So I think it's a bit of a blow for us that they won that game so easily last night. And I think Ajax were down to 10 men pretty early on as well. So yeah, we aren't necessarily getting the benefit that you often get from playing a Champions League or a team in Europe, that their game in the week was not as difficult as expected. And I've had a look as well what Chelsea are expected to line up, and it looks like a 4-2-3-1. So I'll quickly read through if I can pronounce all of the names. Sanchez, and then it'll be James, Achupom and Chalobah at centre-back, Cucurella at left-back, Caicedo, Santos in the centre of midfield, Neto, Fernandes in the 10, Garnacho and João Pedro. So that's kind of how Chelsea are expected to line up. And how do we win? We've sort of talked about this, but basically it boils down to being defensively solid, as we know we can be, not giving up stupid chances, not taking needless risks, making sure we are concentrating. This could be similar to that Manchester United away game where I think we went there and were a little bit naive. We missed our chance early on through Traore, but then after that we just looked a little bit sloppy compared to normal, and the manager changed to a 5 at the back. I was teetering on a 5 at the back today, but I think the injury to Alderete has swayed me to the 4 at the back that the manager really likes. But I think it's fundamentally, we just have to be defensively solid and then find our moments on the counter-attack and utilise set pieces. That's how we win games, and that's generally how we win games of football anyway. So no real change to the plan. It's just the fact that obviously when you're playing against a better team, they're going to have more threats and are going to be able to hurt us far more compared to if we were playing Wolves, where, it's a tighter game and they're not going to create tons of chances. So yeah, Chelsea will create chances against us no matter how good we play defensively. It's a case of, relying on our goalkeeper, relying on bits of luck, but then also taking our chances to hit them on the break. And when I say taking the chances, I don't even mean the finishing. I just mean getting into the counter-attacking positions, the ball being right to move us from defence to midfield to attack. That's where we need to be clinical. We need to get up the pitch and pick the right balls to get there. So the other thing I'd say is will we score 2 goals away from home? My feeling on that is probably not. I think it'll be pretty difficult for us. We've scored 1 away goal all season at Nottingham Forest. So to expect us to go to Chelsea and score 2 would be, I just don't think it's likely to happen. So our best way of winning the game or getting a draw from the game is to keep Chelsea out and try and score 1 ourselves to either win 1-0 or get a 1-1 draw. That is essentially how I would approach this. So my predicted 11 for this, and I'll put it on the screen right now, but Robin Roofs obviously goes in goal. Reinildo at left back, Ballard and Mukiele at centre back. I think Ballard would probably slot into left centre back. Trey Hume would go in at right back. The midfield 3, I went with Xhaka, Sadiki and Gertruida, and I think that just makes, gives us that defensive solidity. I think Rig, didn't have his best game last time out against Wolves. Dan Neil hasn't been given many minutes, and it, to me, it looks like the manager prefers Gertruida, whatever you say his name, Luttrell. He prefers him though because he went with him over Dan Neil in the last game. So I think he may get the nod in central midfield. I think it'd be good. We haven't seen him get a start, whether or not he plays full 90 minutes. We haven't seen him get a start. Lefebvre, I've went with on the left, and then I've went with Isidore and Mayenda. And look, Talby, I'm a big fan of on the left wing. I think he's doing really well. But I think that for us in this game, that's a weapon. If we are at 1-0 down or 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, Talby can be a player that we bring on to try and swing the game in our favour. And I just think on the right, Traore struggled last week. Talby hasn't been great when he's played on the right. And I look at Mayenda and I think we need to get him on the pitch, and him and Isidore have a really good connection together. So getting Mayenda on the right wing and Isidore through the middle, I think if we're in a counter-attacking game, that could really work for us. And it also means that Lefebvre, because he is a bit more defensively solid, you could really block out that midfield area and, tuck Lefebvre in a little bit deeper and a little bit more centrally, and then almost play like a 5-4. No, a 4-4-2 in a way. You could do that, you know, if you were to move Sadiki or Cutrado onto the right side. But yeah, I think we could compact that middle of the park at times when we're defensive and use Mayenda and Isadore's pace. So that's how I'd go. In terms of a score prediction, I don't want to predict negative scores, but I think if we're being brutally honest, going to Stamford Bridge, are we likely to win the game? Probably not. We might, but, you know, it's hard to go there and get a win, and, you know, you need things to go in your favour to do that. Can we get a draw? Absolutely. I think we can frustrate Chelsea and get a 0-0 or a 1-1, and I think I'll go with a 1-1 prediction for this, but I really wouldn't be shocked if Chelsea, you know, won the game 2-0 like what Man United did against us. They've got so much quality, so many good players. They're playing at home. It's, you know, it's a difficult place to go, and, you know, we've done okay at Chelsea in the past, but obviously it's a long time ago. I don't think that has any bearing, but yeah, I think it'll be a really, really difficult matchup, and I think we'll learn a lot from the game, you know, and if we can go there and get something from it, I think that's just another, you know, string to our bow, people taking us more seriously as a team this season and dispelling the myths around the easy fixture list. You know, if we were to go to Stamford Bridge and get a draw, you know, that's a bonus point, so to speak, and people could no longer throw the way you've not played anyone, because that would be just going to Chelsea, playing a top team and getting something from the game. So it's interest for us. It's a good test. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this game. Give me some score predictions as well. I would love to see it. And we'll catch you for another video on Saturday evening, where we'll be reviewing the game, and hopefully an excited live stream where we're, you know, buzzing about picking up 3 points.